Well, good evening. My name is Mukesh Aghi, and I'm with the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum. Well, I would like to welcome Ambassador Sanjay Panda, who has been assigned to as a Consul General of India into San Francisco, handling the West Coast. So welcome, Ambassador. Ambassador comes with a stellar background in foreign service and also with private sector. He was assigned into, I call, multiple geographies from Japan to Malaysia to Seychelles to Sri Lanka. And the last assignment, he was handling the East Asian affair. So we're delighted to have somebody with a tremendous experience on Indian foreign policy. I also would like to welcome Senator Bob. I know you have been a big supporter of India, and you will be, so we're delighted to have you here. We do have Ambassador Mulford, who was ambassador to India for many, many years, and he did a tremendous job building the relationship between two countries. So, Ambassador, welcome. He spends time here at Hoover, and then he's home in Arizona. I met him a few weeks ago in New York City. I just want to say that, we had a board meeting in New Delhi, October 30th, and we met with the Prime Minister, and we talked about India-US relationship. And he said that relationship is not just tied from a geopolitical perspective, also from a trade perspective, but the relationship is more people to people. And if you look at, we have roughly 4 million American Indians who are quite engaged in trying to build this, I call, the relationship on a broad spectrum. Especially in the Valley, the contribution of Indian entrepreneurs has been tremendous. I am going to give you a couple of stats as to what the US companies are doing in India. For example, the US companies are generating roughly $95 billion in GDP on an annual basis in India itself. They've created and hiring and supporting 3.5 million jobs in India, spending roughly $5.5 billion in R&D on an annual basis in India, and almost 50% of the patents coming out of India are with the US companies itself. And as you look at last 4 years under the Prime Minister Modi's regime, US companies have invested almost over $55 billion into India, and that investment seems to be accelerating as time goes by. And if you look at on geopolitical perspective, I think first time a trilateral is taking place at the G20 in Buenos Aires between President Trump, Prime Minister Modi, and Prime Minister Abe. And that sends a very strong signal itself in the region. And I was talking to the ambassador earlier. There are two fundamental principles we are trying to drive this relationship. One is the economic prosperity of India is good for America and American companies. And the reason I say that is if you look at companies such as Google, Amazon, Uber, WhatsApp, they all dominate the Indian market, and they've all been shut out of China market. So India has been very, very receptive to the US companies. The second factor which we drive is that a military strong India is good for regional stability. And so we have embarked on a lot of effort to make sure that we are able to create a defense ecosystem. In fact, next week we have India's defense minister in this part of the world itself, in DC also, and they will be heading out to Hawaii, naming or christening of the new, what I call as Indo-Pacific region itself. So I think the current administration, at least the government itself, is focusing a lot trying to support India from a geopolitical perspective. I am going to invite Ambassador Sanjay Panda as one of his inaugural opening remarks and talk about US-India and how he sees this relationship going forward. Ambassador, welcome, and welcome to the stage itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Mukesh, for the kind words. Excellency, Ambassador Mulford, Senator Bob, whom I had the privilege of meeting in Delhi just 4 days before I left for San Francisco. and all my friends, new friends whom I'm making today. I mean, it's just wonderful. I'm actually touched by the warm words of welcome and the kind of reception that I've had on reaching San Francisco. I thought when I got in here, I thought I was at home for the simple reason, for a different reason, that the air quality was very similar to Delhi. But then, no, even jokes apart, even my Delhi lungs had it a little difficult to even cope with it. But within a couple of days, the air cleared, and it cleared for the better. And after that, and the kind of, during the 2 weeks that I've been here, the kind of interaction, kind of ideas, kind of thoughts, which people are sharing with me, it's something which is remarkable. First of all, at the outset, I consider it an honor and a privilege to join here as a Consul General to Silicon Valley and be in the Silicon Valley. As a Consul General, the geographic area is very vast. In fact, it's one of our largest consulates in terms of not only in terms of geographic area, but in terms of importance. And the importance emanates from friends like you who have really got this relationship to where it is. To take from where Mukesh pointed out about the strategic dimension of this relationship and how we can really link it up with our business links, be it on the technology, innovation, and across a very wide spectrum. I must tell you that India and the United States, as all of us know, we are natural partners. We have a strategic convergence, the way we looked at things. When I was handling Indian Ocean region in the Foreign Ministry, I was constantly in touch with the State Department, even from the distance, notwithstanding. We had video conferencing as we were trying to tackle the issue of Maldives. We were talking about, I was handling maritime security. So there was a very close connect, and we had to have a coordinated approach. And this coordinated approach is nothing new. It was always there, but it has grown. This is really, there is a fresh traction at this point, thanks to the Indo-Pacific concept that has gained salience. In fact, when we were talking about maritime security in the Indian Ocean, we always had this vision that it is actually our Prime Minister who always felt that it cannot be the Indian Ocean, although is our ocean, in fact the only ocean which is named after a country, but the fact remains it cannot be insulated from what is happening elsewhere. And that is why, I was in Tokyo, and I was very impressed when at one point in time Prime Minister Abe had come with this concept of confluence of the two seas. When he mentioned about the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, at that point people thought that this may not, there's something which is a little, something which may not really see the light of the day. But then, well, it's a reality. And the very fact that we have lot of interaction, how we take this forward, and we say that this is critical for our interaction between India and the US. I must confess that my interaction with the United States has been limited only during the last couple of years, and mostly from a political and foreign policy perspective, and not bilateral but regional and multilateral. I'm just 2 weeks old, so I'm trying to get my foothold here, and that is when I really count on your support, your guidance, and we have to work as a team to take this relationship forward. in fact, I consider it a privilege that I'm based here in California. I mean, this is a region which is actually, in a sense, driving the economic growth, the global economic growth, and it is also, in a way, changing the way we think and we look at global issues. I mean, be it poverty alleviation, be it access to energy, water, access to health, education. It has a major influence globally, and uh, and it is heartening that the Indians and the Indian Americans have really contributed and dominate the entrepreneurship in the Silicon Valley today. And I'm given to understand that more than 50% of the startups here are founded by members of the Indian diaspora. And of course, that also speaks volumes about the emphasis on education in India, and which has been a very important driving force. In fact, when I was meeting the IIT alumni here, I mean, it is so heartening to know that there's such wonderful brains. So I always value the IITians, and your contribution is something which needs to have a special mention. I always feel that California and India, I mean, I'm talking in a sense, I mean, talk about US and India, we have a natural fit. And particularly so, I'll talk about California because two of here, it's technology, innovation, IT in particular, and the focus on education. And in India, that has been our major strength in technology, in IT sector. And so I always feel that there is a synergy that we need to really optimize on by our association. And I must compliment USISPF for bringing the strategic dimension to our way how our business collaboration, how we should take forward this relationship. You are no stranger to our Prime Minister's initiatives, which he did talk about here, Digital India, Make in India, Startup India, and these are now actually showing dividends. I mean, when I cannot really imagine how every month there are 10 million internet users are getting added in India. Can you imagine the kind of implication that it has for various areas? I mean, be it e-commerce, be it governance, be it, this will probably change the way we look at, the business that we, the relationship that we develop with India. And I feel that with all these initiatives, I mean, also with Startup India, I mean, the kind of kind of focus, the kind of support that the government has provided, it is something which has really taken up, and I feel that skilling India is now going to be a very important component. Of course, is very one was very happy to see the latest ease of doing business ranking, which was released by the World Bank. India actually jumped 23 notches. Well, we're still not there, but last year we were 100, but now we have become 77. And considering the fact that during the last 2 years, we have actually jumped 53 spots, which means quite a lot. There's various indicators on which this ranking is done. I mean, it's starting a business, construction permits, credit, taxes, so on and so forth. And out of 6 out of the 10 indicators, India has actually shown a very positive growth. So this is a very dramatic improvement, and I feel this also indicates that although we are not quite there, we are heading in the right direction. And of course, I am personally very excited about the 5G revolution which is coming about, and these are waiting in the wings to unfold. And of course, I feel that US and India will have a major role to play in optimizing from the range of opportunities that will arise out of 5G. And also, I feel that we are at a very opportune moment in history, and we should not lose this opportunity to maximize and optimize our relationship. And as our Prime Minister said, and Mukesh also mentioned about it, it's very important to have a people-to-people connect. So it's not only doing business the way the world has done, it's much more than that. Our business is also got a little personal touch and is the people. So that is why I feel we come and go, but you are the permanent ambassadors of India in this country, and you have an excellent role to play in this regard. Finally, I would like to thank USISPF for putting this together, and I would also like to thank all of you for attending. And as I mentioned, I'm very new, so I will really I look forward to hearing your views, your perspectives, and your ideas, which I'm sure will put me in a good state as I start my innings here. Thank you so much.